Hello everybody, and first of all I would like to thank everybody for the support on which you have all given Anxious Minds so far. So today I'm going to talk a little bit about the charity Anxious Minds and why we set up in the first place and what makes it different for the support that we offer to support being offered by other charities. So why did we set up? So the best way I can talk through this then is to talk about my story and what happened to me. So my name's Eddie and I'm the volunteer chief officer of Anxious Minds. This is my 7th year as a volunteer and chief officer for the charity. So after I left the army in 2006, I then worked delivering a contract for the MOD, doing simulation training. And I did that for about 7 years. We all think mental health isn't going to affect me. And I remember at the time, before I had a mental health issue, thinking, it'll never affect me. I'm okay, I kept healthy. I tried to keep fit, and I always tried to be positive about things. But for me, it happened overnight. So I woke up in a panic attack. And then this escalated and it went from a panic attack to being on the sick at home to being taken from sick to being made redundant and taking a payoff from the company I was working for to being homeless. So my life snowballed so quickly because of the lack of support. And during this whole time, I reached out and I asked for help. I phoned all the charities we got in our red book when I left the army and asked them for support for mental health, which none of them provided at that time. I also spoke out to the NHS and asked them to support me. So my life snowballed to the point where I couldn't function. I was homeless. I was living in a caravan at that time, and I couldn't function. I couldn't move from one room to the next because I'd had panic attacks, heart palpitations, and wake up with nightmares crying because of undiagnosed and unsupported post-traumatic stress disorder and clinical depression. So I said at that point, after talking to a friend who said, Eddie, if you're ever going to recover, you've got to do it yourself, because I was waiting for someone to come and fix me. So I decided that if I ever get to a point where I can function again, I will do something about this, because it's not right that people have to wait up to a year or longer to get any support for their mental health. It's not right that people in crisis reach out and nobody comes to help them. So we had to change this. So Anxious Minds was founded. Our first project was a project called Let's Talk, and that provided support groups. So at this point we weren't a charity, it was just me providing support groups. I thought it would benefit me and my well-being, talking about what happened to me and how I've learned to manage and overcome the issues I had, and I also thought it would benefit others from learning about the self-help tools in which I'd realised helped me. So the Let's Talk project supported over 700 people across Newcastle and North Tyneside. We then founded the charity Anxious Minds. Now, 7 years on, we have 4 centres. We have a counselling service based in Wallsend, and that supports about 130 people a week with counselling services. We have a total of 30 plus counsellors at one time, and we provide early intervention. So to get into our counselling service, it's a phone call and you're in to see a counsellor within a week, maximum of 2. So we provide that early intervention. We also provide long-term support. So as well as having the counselling service for adults and children, and you can get up to 16 sessions with our counselling programme. We also provide the long-term service. So we have a recovery centre. So once you've finished counselling, or if counselling's not for you, we have the recovery centre, and you'll be able to see some videos of our centres at the end of my speech. So when I was homeless and struggling, I was financially embarrassed because I had no money. But what I did have was my war pension. So I used my war pension to fund the charity for its first year. And since then, we have won multiple awards. We have the counselling services. We have the community drop-in centres. We have the Veteran Recovery College, and that won 5 national awards last year. And we also have the Women's Crisis Centre in Blythe, Northumberland. So within 7 small years, the charity has grown and supports thousands of people a year that are in crisis, that need our support. So what makes us different? What makes Anxious Minds different to every other charity out there? So Anxious Minds provides that early intervention. So our support is professional support. So we have BACP registered counsellors and psychotherapists and clinical supervisors. Now, a lot of mental health charities don't have these services for the fact that getting counselling funding or funding for the counselling service is extremely difficult. Anything provided by the NHS, it's extremely difficult to find funding for it. So a lot of organisations don't do that. They all do signposting projects to signpost into organisations like Anxious Minds. So our centres are run by professionals. We have counsellors, we have addiction support staff, and we have women crisis support teams. So they are all fully trained professionals. So we're like an extension of the NHS when the NHS can't cope. And they do refer a lot of people into us. However, they don't fund us. So we provide that life-saving crisis support for the community. And because of your help, we can continue to do this. So we're going to have a look now at some of the centres